All right, so what's new in Civil 3D 2021? There's three big changes in Civil 3D or updates that I want to address today. I want to talk to you about Publish to ArcGIS and some of the changes they made in that. The workflow is not different, but it is more powerful in allowing you to select key attributes instead of pushing all the attribute data up. Then we have Dynamo and Dynamo Player, which this is going to be a mind-blowing technology and a way for you to customize your workflow, your layout, and your design options. And it's a really powerful. It's like Autolisp on steroids. And then after that, we'll spend most of our time talking about pressure pipe layout and editing and those changes in Civil 3D 2021. I believe that the pressure pipes is going to have the quickest direct effect on your guys' workflow. And behind that will probably be Dynamo and Dynamo Player and learning how to make that code work and the powers within that. So that being said, we'll move on to Publish to ArcGIS. Now, I believe Alyssa's got a poll to start off with, so we can get a little bit of feedback on how you guys are using ArcGIS, if you are at all, in your workflow.
Yeah, and I've just put that up in the slide section over here. And the question is, are you using the Autodesk connector for GIS? And if you just want to submit via one of the buttons.
I'll give everybody a minute to answer that before we jump into our presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. If you just want to click the slide widget. Corey, I can see the webinar
screen there. Yep.
All right. It looks like a lot of people have heard of it, but are not using it. So that's good to know.
All right. So I'm going to open up Civil 3D 2020 real quick, just so you guys can see how it used to be, and then I'll show you the changes in Civil 3D 2021. So currently in Civil 3D 2020, I'm going to open up a drawing real quick. Now, I'm not going to highlight the entire workflow for using the GIS connector today, but I will do a quick upload and I'll show you the changes that you'll see with 2021. So on your output panel, if you go over to your Publish to ArcGIS and you click that, it'll bring up a menu and it should be somewhat familiar to you if you've used the XML editor. Let me log in real quick. I thought I was logged in earlier.
While you're logging in, maybe I can push it to another poll question.
Sure.
All right, our next poll question is, have you heard of Dynamo and do you use it? Answer number 1, heard of it, but don't use it. 2, never heard of it. And 3, I'm a Dynamo pro. I will be interested to see if you just pop up your slide widget over there and we can check out where you guys are with that. I'm going to leave it open for a few more seconds. All right, and we are going to push it. Okay, so we've got about 50-50 here, and 5% of you are Dynamo pros. Very interesting.
That's pretty fantastic. As short as Dynamo's been out, that there's that many Dynamo pros, and even half the people know about it. So that's really great. So
yeah, awesome.
If we're back, can we see my screen again?
Yep.
Yep, perfect. All right, so when you launch that publish to ArcGIS, you're going to see a dialog box very much similar to what you'd see if you were exporting an XML file with Civil 3D. So I'm just going to uncheck everything, and I'll scroll all the way down to a pipe network that I've got set up, and we'll select that storm, and we'll click OK. And that's going to bring up a dialog box, and that's going to show me the area of interest of the data that I selected. I would click Next, and then this is where we would see the big changes in 2021. In 2020, all we have is the object type that we want to upload. So it's going to upload all the attributes for those Civil 3D objects to ArcGIS. So let me cancel out and show you the changes over in 2021. Autodesk has realized that we don't always want to push up all that data from our Civil 3D objects, because sometimes it's not necessary, or sometimes it might be some information that we don't need to push out to the public. So again, I'll walk through that same dialog box. It'll show me the same area of interest. But now when I come over to my layer information and my object type, I've got pipes, and I can hit the little arrow here and expand it, and now I can tell it every attribute that I want it to assign to the data that it's going to push up to ArcGIS. And slope, start, end. So we'll select some of our key attributes that we want to push up, and then we'll hit next and follow through. And then one thing with Esri is it doesn't like spaces in the data that you're going to push up. So we will get rid of those spaces, and we'll put in an underscore. One. And then we'll tag this data so that we can search it later if we want to. And over here, it's saying it's got an error with the service name. Is there a space in there? It's the service name. Change that to just demo and see if that works. This is a little bit new today. Sorry about that. I didn't have these issues earlier while I was testing things. Add the storm there and try to see what's going on. Demo storm there. There we go. We'll go ahead and hit next, and we're just going to push this to a folder I've got on my Esri account called Demo Datasets, and we'll hit Publish. So as this loads up, it'll take a minute or so. It's fast, but it's not terribly fast. It's all dependent on the speed of your internet connection as well. The good news is if you push it up in stages, push your storm up at once, and then your road center lines or whatnot, you can do it in little chunks, and it goes a little bit quicker. So after it's pushed up to Esri, we can go ahead and view that data in ArcGIS. It's going to pull up my account here, and it will zoom into the area where my pipes are at and our subdivision here. And then we can see that if we click on one of these pipes, it has only the attribute data that we decided to push up with it. So that's the big change with the Esri connector and using that with Civil 3D and just being able to select those attributes that you want to push up. So we'll close out of this and we will go on and look at Dynamo. Dynamo has a huge potential for what it can do with your workflow. And today I'm going to show you the player, which is now built into your Civil 3D 2021, and some of the nodes and that sort of stuff. I'll do a quick demo, but I don't have any really complicated or amazing Dynamo player sets loaded. It's a little bit complicated to get going at first, but I think you guys will be pretty amazed once you dig into it a little bit. So I'll jump over to my Dynamo drawing here. And then on your Manage tab, we have Dynamo and Dynamo Player buttons under Visual Programming. So if you click the Dynamo button, it's going to pull up and it'll pop up a menu, and it should show us a list of recent programs that we set up and ran. It gives you the option to open new ones or create a new file from scratch. So for this demo purpose, I'm going to open an existing one real quick just so you guys can see how Dynamo is laid out and the different tools that you have to work with. So this is our Dynamo player layout, and it's a 3D environment, and it's a visual programming tool. So we can look at it and we can see we've got our document, and then we're going to be pulling data from our corridors and a corridor rebuild, and then we're going to look at the baselines, and we're going to pull data from all of this, and then we're going to have an output that's going to create text from here, so you can follow the ropes all the way around the file to kind of get an idea of what you're going to do. And I've seen people using Dynamo to place sidewalk curb cut ramps into their corridor and build them that way. You can use them to automatically place text and update text within your corridor for elevations, etc., which is what I'm going to show you today. And it's a really quick, easy way to rerun and replace that text as your data updates. Now we won't save any changes. So then we'll bring up the Dynamo player here. And this is the list of recent scripts that I've run. So I want to run this text and circle along corridor feature line. So I'll just click play and we'll see the output real quick on what this can do for you. So we can see that I ran that and it placed a circle with an elevation from my corridor per the parameters that were set within that Dynamo script. Now the powerful thing with this is if we were to go place all those labels ourselves, we'd spend 15, 20 minutes or more doing that. And then if somebody comes in and says, well, I really want to change our layout and we need to pull our road down to the south down here. Well, shoot, now we have to rebuild that corridor. And our labels are out of date. So now we got to go in and redo a good chunk of labels. Whereas with this Dynamo script, I can just erase those current layer labels, and then I can rerun that script again using the player. And we can see it went in and pulled new elevations, repositioned all of our labels along that corridor, and updated everything. So it's quick, it's easy, and it's really powerful. This is an extremely simple example that I'm showing you here today, but I think your creativity and what you want to do is going to be really the limits of where you're going to go. So in Civil 3D, with the release this year for 2021, they've added some new nodes and a new node package specifically around Civil 3D, and that package is called the Civil 3D Toolkit. In that package, it's got new tools where you can work with your surfaces, your Kogo points. You can pull property data out of objects, or you can use the nodes to set property data for, say, dimensions or widths or thicknesses for different entities that you might be working with. So Dynamo, it's coming out of Revit. It's really, really powerful, and I'm excited to see where it goes and how we can really start to implement it and create some custom programming here at ASTI, and what you guys can do out there as well. So that's Dynamo. Pretty amazing, pretty powerful. From here, we're going to go on to the pressure pipes, which is where we'll spend most of our time today, because I believe that's going to have the most direct effect on your workflow currently. So changes that we see coming to pressure pipes this year in 2021, we can establish specific pipe runs or create a separate pipe run for a different alignment or a different road, and it will all be part of the master pipe network within our project. We like to have all of our pressure pipes tied together, especially in water mains, so that we can calculate the proper flow and proper sizing, but we still want to be able to look at them separately in alignments and design them separately that way. Then with bend angles, they've updated things with bend angles where they will automatically update with the proper elbow or angle as you dynamically move that pressure pipe and change the angles. We can link our pressure pipes to a specific design profile and set our vertical offset or depth of our pipe according to that, and it moves dynamically with the vertical design profile, as well as we can link our alignment to an alignment, a horizontal alignment, and make it design as an offset from that center line. Typically, a lot of entities want your water lines to run on a particular side of the road so many feet off the center line, and this allows us to do that real quick. So I believe Alyssa has another poll for us real quick. We'll let her push that out, and then we'll go into the CAD file after that.
And yes, I do. If you just put up the slides widget up there, our final poll question is, our current workflow for non-gravity pipe networks includes the following, and just check what applies. And while people are answering that, I did get a question earlier, and it was, what version of GIS are you using, Corey?
So this is the GIS, it's the ArcGIS Online Pro, I believe. And to work with the GIS connector and be able to push the data up, I believe that's what you have to have is the ArcGIS Online Pro version.
Gotcha. Okay. And another person asked, what is the difference between pipe networks and pressure pipes?
So our typical pipe networks are going to be gravity pipes where there's no pressure to them. It would be like your storm drain or your sanitary sewer, and everything will flow from the high point to the low point in your design. With pressure pipes, there's pressure so you can push the water uphill, and then you have the water pressure go into the houses or commercial buildings that you're designing your network for, fire hydrants, etc.
Gotcha. And with that, it looks like we have a good amount of answers, so I'm going to go ahead and push that. Okay. Looks like this is interesting. All right. Thank you, everyone, for answering. Back over to you, Corey.
All right. So we're going to jump into a drawing that I've got set up so we can look at our pressure pipe networks. The first thing I want to show you is the ability to create your pressure pipe network and how easy it is to create a specific pipe run within that pressure pipe network. So over here, that's pipe networks. That's not where I want to be. Under pressure pipes, pressure networks, we can see that currently I don't have anything in here. So I will go to my Home tab, and I will go to Pipe Network, and I will go to Pipe Network Creation Tools, or Pressure Network Creation Tools here, and that'll pop up a dialog, and it's going to let us fill out what we want our network name to be. But starting off with, we'll call this water. Our pipe run, the first run I'm going to do is going to be along Syra Way, so we'll name that Syra Way. This, we will run a 12-inch pipe. We can reference our surface, so currently I'll reference our corridor FG. Our cover, this would be the cover over our pipe. We're going to want 4 feet. And then, do I want to reference a particular alignment? I'm going to reference Syra Way. For my labels, we will choose our nominal diameter and material. Same thing for our fitting label and our appurtenance. Appurtenance would be any valves that we may put in or other objects of that type, versus a fitting, which is going to be your T's, your crosses, or any elbows that you would be using. So after we populate all of that data, we'll click OK. And from here, we can start drawing our pressure network. I'm going to come up to my transparent commands tool here, and I'm going to do station offset off of an alignment. I'm going to start at station 0 with an offset of -8. And then from here, I'm going to hold the offset along this alignment. And I can just click my station in as I draw down along here. We'll come down to the end. We'll hit escape to get out of our transparent command and enter again. And we can see that it drew in our pressure pipe here and added our labels for us. In doing so, we can see that it automatically added in our 11¼ degree elbow for our pressure pipe and another one here. So that's how easy it is to quickly lay out a water line. Now I'll show you how we can do that using an object and offsetting off of an alignment. So I'll just select our pressure network there so that I can make sure we're working with that. And then I'll come up to, in our pipe run contextual tab under pipe run, I will choose add a new pipe run from object. It's going to ask me what object I want to use. So I'll come over to our center line. We'll select our direction. It's going to ask us what alignment we want to reference. And I just use this as an opportunity to zoom out and make sure I'm selecting the right alignment. We're going to name this Frontenac Drive. We're going to use our 10-inch pipe for this one. We're choosing that reference alignment. We want to go 8 feet left, so we'll type in -8, that spot, and we're going to maintain our 4 feet of cover. So after that, we'll click OK. And we'll wait, and we'll see that it dropped in our water line pressure pipe 8 feet off of that alignment. Now, one of the tools with 2021 is it allows you to add in curved pipe for your pressure networks. I'm not an engineer, so you'll need to check the spec of your pipe that you're dealing with and make sure your curves match that, but it is an option and a tool. That way you're not showing 500 fittings in there if you can get that deflection out of your pipe. Easy enough. Now we can come down here and we're going to pull this pipe back. And then we're going to extend it to the network that we've just created, and we should be able to add our branch fitting. And make that work. We'll come over here, we'll extend this one down. Add our branch fitting. Don't quite have that intersecting here. Let me try that again. Come on. There we go. Add our branch fitting. And it's giving us a message here. What is it saying? It's saying that they're not intersecting. Why are they not intersecting? We'll come back to that in just a second. If we wanted to just simply create our new pipe run just by clicks and picks, we can go over to our add new pipe run and create new pipe run. It's going to ask us for our name, and we will call this one South Road because I can't see that road right now. We're going to tell it what surface we want to reference, our corridor FG, the amount of cover we want to add, and we're going to reference Cabernet Court. So that's the road I want. Cabernet Court. And we'll click OK. Now it's going to ask us where we want our first point to begin at. We'll click right here, tying into that pressure pipe there, and we will just start building our line going south. And once we get to the end, we'll hit enter, and we can see that it built that pressure network. It added our 90-degree elbow here. It added a 11¼ degree elbow there. And up here, we should have our connection. Add our branch fitting. For some reason, those aren't working. Pressure networks, water. We can look at our pipe runs, and over here we can see all of their names, what surface they're following, and how deep they are running. Now I want to add this pipe run to a profile so that we can see what's going on with our road. So I'm going to select that pipe as part of that pipe run, and I will come over and I will click on the pipe run profile button. We know this pipe run is CyraWay. We're going to tell it we want it to reference the CyraWay FG profile, our design profile, and we want it to maintain 4 feet of depth. And we're going to add this to an existing profile that we currently have in our drawing. We'll come over and click on that profile, and we can see that it just added in my pressure pipes, maintaining 4 feet of depth. But the really cool part about this is if I was to change my FG profile, that pressure pipe is going to move with our finished grade profile design. That way we're always maintaining our 4 feet of depth. Another tool that's available this year in 2021 is we're able to quickly and easily add a pipe lowering if we had a crossing of a sewer line or a storm line and we needed to lower part of our pipe. We would just select it, highlight the nodes that we want to lower, and we'll drag it down. And just like that, we have a pipe lowering for our pressure pipes in Civil 3D 2021. One thing I will caution you about right now is if you have this tied to your design profile and you have a pipe lowering, if you make a change to your design profile, it's going to raise that lowering back up. So you'll have to come back in and select those nodes, and then you could add that lowering again after you've got your design profile where you want it. Easy peasy. It's a super easy to use tool. It's one of those things that Autodesk is pushing more development into. They have big changes for 2021, and from my understanding is they're going to keep working on this to just make it better for us. So we'll take a quick pause and see if there's been any questions come up.
Yeah, we do have a few. One question is, are there any improvements to the workflow between Revit and Civil 3D 2021?
There have been some improvements, and using Dynamo, they are working at ways to improve your output of bridge structures and other road design elements that you might have in your Civil 3D corridor to push those objects and push them out to Revit. And then you can make a change to your alignment, and it'll update your corridor, and you run that script again, and it'll push the updated geometry back out for Revit. So those tools are getting better. They're in development, and there's some particular Dynamo scripts out there that can be used for that. I'm not a Revit user or a Revit expert yet, but I know that capability is there and getting better.
Fabulous. I'm not seeing any more questions right now, but make sure to drop your questions in the Q&A widget below. Back over to you.
Excellent. So that's the essential updates with our pressure networks. Pretty handy. If we wanted to come in and continue on this pressure network, we could click on that continue layout, and it's going to ask you for a line to start with, and then from here we can go into a curve layout. And it's going to tell you your radius as you're stretching that out so that you can make sure you're staying within any specs that you might have. We'll hit enter to get out of that, and I just saw the infamous flash. So I believe that my Civil 3D is trying to crash on me right now. How unfortunate. with that, I think that pretty much concludes my layout that I wanted to talk about with you guys.